Carlos Ramirez, owner of NVS Audio in Roselle, New Jersey. So, they finally released the app, so I'm finally allowed to talk about it. It's the new DSP from Sound Digital, Ground Zero, HKI. HKI is the parent company that distributes Ground Zero and Sound Digital in the United States. So the DSP is labeled HKI. The software is also labeled HKI. This is similar to a DSP we've used before and we really like. They've addressed all the issues that we had with that DSP, which is awesome. They just released the iPhone app. So with the other DSP, it only worked with Android. We were going back and forth with tech support, and they claimed that they had no issues with it. We had nothing but issues with the iPhone app, but the Android app worked flawlessly on that DSP. This DSP works great with both, so it's a huge plus. Another thing that they upgraded over the other DSP was the other DSP only had a 4-band output EQ, which is completely useless for us. This one has an 8-band EQ for every speaker channel and a 31-band, I think it's 31-band input EQ for the entire DSP. So completely usable, awesome for what we do. It's got some really cool features. One thing I don't like about it is the plug. I wish it had a lock on it, but it's not an issue. We add a dab of glue when we lock it in, but that's the plug for the DSP. It fits in there nice and tight, but if you get aggressive with the cable ties, I could see it popping out. But I love the fact that the RCAs are on the end because, you know, when we do installs in motorcycles, space is always a premium. So it's super small. Let me grab a DSR1 so I can show you how small it is in comparison. This is by far the most popular DSP on the market for motorcycles. Rockford DSR1 is on back order. You won't see any until next year. So there it is next to the DSR1. It's a little bit smaller than DSR1. Then the nice part about the DSR1 is it has pigtails for the RCA, so you can loop them around and literally not add any width and slide this in on the side. Same thing with this DSP, except you loop the wires around on the end like this, wire tie it down, and then on the Street Glide, it fits in the pocket this way. On the Road Glide, it fits underneath the bracket on the side of the speaker pod this way. So obviously we've tested it, we've used it. If you do our stage 1, it goes on the Street Glide, goes on the plate right next to the DSP. On the Road Glide, it would go underneath the radio along with the amplifier. They fit side by side if you're doing a single amplifier like a Sound Digital Evo X800. We do offer T-harnesses for them. So if you're using a factory GT or GTS radio, T-harness, signal in, power, already done for you. If you get the DSP and want to build your own harness, this is exactly the way it comes in the box with the pigtail for power, ground, and remote. It's only one thing I don't like about the DSP is the fact that it does not have a remote turn on output. The reason a remote turn on output is important is it helps you eliminate turn on and off pops. So with most DSPs, you have a remote turn on input, which is normally red or blue, and a remote turn on output, which is normally blue-white. What's nice about that is the DSP knows when the radio turns on, so it waits for the radio turns on, it turns the DSP on, the DSP waits till the radio's done doing its thing, and then it turns the amplifier on. So that way, any noise that the radio makes while it's turning on, you don't hear because it doesn't get amplified. So what we do with these is we tie a TR4 into the input, and then it delays the amplifier outputs. So that's how we solve that problem if we run into that issue. So no big deal, just a little bit of extra wiring on the prep side. Other than that, really good DSP. We've installed a bunch of them and we've had 0 issues, no failures so far. I'm just going to briefly touch on the features of the DSP without getting too far into it, because in the next coming weeks, I'm going to do a full in-depth and show you every feature of the DSP, along with every feature of the DSR1, along with every feature of the Ground Zero 4 to 8, along with every feature of the ARC Audio PSM. I'm going to literally go through all the most popular motorcycle DSPs on the market. Dayton DSP is one of them. So right now I'm just going to go through the features. So it's 4 channels in, 8 channel out. It will take speaker level inputs through the RCA. I know we fed as much as 4, 5, 6 volts, but I have to put it on the test bench and figure out exactly how much voltage. We just did one in a BMW and it overdrove the inputs, so we had to use a line level converter on the input to drop down the voltage. On Harleys, we have not ran into that issue yet. I know for a fact when you flash the Harley radio using Sounds Flash or Rockford Flash, it drops the speaker outputs to just under 2 volts. So you're basically getting RCA level out of the GTS or the GT head unit. So it's not an issue. We've installed this on a bunch of bikes with no problems. If you get yourself into trouble and the software is doing something funny, there's a reset button. You go ahead and hit the reset button. The DSP is password protected, and on initial boot up, the default password is 0000. You could change it to anything you'd like after that. I know that's a huge concern, especially with some of the competitors out there with people logging into their DSPs. It has a awesome feature, which is a limiter. So you can basically set the upper limit and cut back the output once you reach that point. We'll get into more of that in the video. And you can actually see the lights light up when each channel hits its preset limit. One thing I really like, it has a Bluetooth connect light. So just like the Rockford DSP, when your phone connects to it, the light will light up blue. So you don't have to guess whether or not you're connected, it'll show you. It's got an input clip indicator for channel 1 and 2, labeled A and B, and it's got an input clip indicator for channel 3 and 4, labeled C and D. Super important if you're not using a scope to know where your head unit's distorting at. Super useful feature. The Rockford amplifiers have this feature, which is nice. I wish that the Rockford DSR1 DSP had it. It doesn't. I'm assuming they're going to add it in the future. But it's great. You can see when you're clipping the input signal, because you're only going to get out what you put in. So if you put in clean signal, you'll get out clean signal. So it's very useful to know when the input signal is clipping. That way you know what your maximum volume is on that head unit, and you can back down a click or two and start tuning from there. 8 RCAs on the output side. It's got lets you select between 6, 12, 18, and 24 decibel per octave crossovers. It lets you select Linkwitz Riley, Butterworth, and Bessel. It's pretty straightforward. Lets you invert phase 180 degrees on every channel. It's got input EQ, 8-band output EQ for each channel. It's got the limiter. It's got a separate menu for limiter, separate menu for crossover, separate menu for gain, output gain. So it's got a master gain level, and then it has each individual gain for each channel. Really nice software. I'll show you in a second how it works. Connects really quickly, and most importantly, it fits. Problem with most really good DSPs on the market, they don't fit. So this is a more powerful DSP than the ones we've been using, and it actually fits. I wish that they had an option for PC USB connection. This is smartphone only. I don't like tuning on the small screen of my phone. I like using my big 17-inch laptop screen. It's just quicker that way. But I'll deal with it. The software is really nice, and then it's quick. You can breeze through the software. I'll show you in a second. Let me grab my phone and show you what the app looks like. So if you want to download the app and play with it, the app is application is the HKI Mini, so it's Mini HKI app. The application is called Mini HKI. It's the only one that pops up when you find it. And that's what it looks like booting up. Obviously, it's not going to see the DSP because it's not connected to power. So you click demo mode and you can run through it. One thing I really like is in the upper right hand corner where it connects, it shows you the signal strength, and it shows you the battery voltage of the vehicle you're working on, because a lot of times we've been tuning, forget to put the tender on the bike, and the battery dies on the bike and wipes out the entire tune. So with this, you can monitor the battery voltage while you're working on it. Does input signal routing, so whether you use 2 RCAs or 4 RCAs or 2 speaker wires, 4 speaker wires, you could tell it what you want to go to each channel. Gain settings for each channel, master gain on the top, all your other gains channel by channel. crossover setting, and it'll also show you the overlay of each crossover, so you could see them one over each other, so you could see how your channels are blending together. Really nice feature, I like that. That's your output EQ for each channel. That's your input EQ for the entire DSP. Allows you to invert polarity 180 degrees of phase on each channel, which is super important, so you can go speaker by speaker, switching positive and negative to make sure everything's in phase. Phasing is super important. It robs you of all mid-bass if you don't get it properly. I got to call tech support on this one. It's showing the distance for the delay in millimeters. There's got to be an easy way to switch that over to inches. It's no big deal because you can just measure in inches, go online on Google and search inches to millimeter and just type it in, but it'd be faster if you just input it in inches. But if that's the only complaint I have about the DSP, then we're winning. Then saving memory. This is just a quick overview to show you the DSP, see if you like it. We definitely like it. Just ordered 50 pieces for the shop in the initial order on top of the 20 that we already had here. So I'm pretty confident it's gonna work really well. And that's it. This is just a quick overview of the DSP. Almost every DSP on the market is sold out. These are made in Brazil, so they're not affected by the Chinese chip shortage as of now. I don't know what's going to happen a few months in the future. So we've run through the Rockford DSP. They're on back order. Arc Audio, we bought every one we can get our hands on. PSM's on back order. The Audio Dynamics DSP is on back order. So almost every DSP that we use is on back order. This one is readily available. I like it. I give it 2 thumbs up. I recommend it. And that's it. So for size reference, we have the DSR1. It's almost identical in size. It's a little bit thinner than DSR1, but the DSR1 fits in a lot of places because the RCAs are on pigtails, so you could fold them under and tuck it in. This one, being that the RCAs are on top and bottom, you could do the same thing, so you can fold it over this way. And this thing slides in almost anywhere. We like to put them in between the pod and the bracket on the road glides. I was told that the app wasn't ready yet for iPhone, but I tried it, and there it was in the marketplace, in the App Store. It connects nice and quick. There's another company that makes a similar DSP, but the iPhone app keeps crashing. This one hasn't crashed on me once yet, and it works nice and quick. So it's pretty simple. There's your main input gain at the top. We have tweeters on channel 1 and 2, so we want to bring those gains down. We just hooked this up on Abdullah's bike real quick since his is already set up. So we unplugged the ground zero DSP and plugged in the HK. There's a ground zero DSP there. So it was a nice simple swap. We're using one of our T-harnesses that we build in-house. So it's T-harnessed right into the back of the radio. Okay, so now you want to go back. I like that it shows you the battery voltage on the bike because I've been tuning and then had the battery go dead on me and erase all my settings, so that's really nice. Go in, set up the crossovers. It comes default 24 decibels per octave, link with Riley. So we're on channel 1 already. We have this on tweeters, so let's set this to 5,000 as a starting point. That's channel 1. Channel 2 will do the same thing. 5,000. Channel 3, we're going to bandpass. Let's go 150. Got Mr. Wonderful texting me about some tweeters. So 150, and we'll set the upper end. At 5,000. 5,000. Click off that. Channel 4. Wonderful's me cracking up when you watch this video later. 5,000. Okay, so just that quickly, we've set up channel 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we go back. So now we've set up gain, channel routing. Right now we're only using 2 channels of input, so it's set up for 2 channels of input. We'll drive all the outputs, so we can leave that like that. So there's another company that makes a similar DSP, and what I did not like about it was it had an input EQ that was 31 bands, which is great, but then an output EQ per channel was only 4 bands, which is completely unusable. This one has 8 bands of output EQ per channel, completely usable. That I'm fine with. So channel 1, you can pick your frequency or change it. So we'll make that 750. Now that is adjusting 750 hertz. You could adjust the Q factor here. Nice and easy to use. You can invert the polarity of every channel 180 degrees. So that's basically flipping the positive and negative on each speaker to make sure they're in phase. I like how nice and quick this DSP responds. So we've gone over output EQ, now we'll go to the input EQ. Input EQ, the problem with adjusting the input EQ is it adjusts every band across every speaker. So you want to use this to correct any input problems with the input signal. So you want to do this hooked up to the RTA while everything on the output side is flat and you have the volume low. So then you can make minor corrections to the input signal on this screen and then watch it on the RTA. When we do a more in-depth review, I'm gonna actually have it hooked up to the RTA and show you how all this works. So that's the input EQ for the entire system. And then the output EQ for each individual channel. So what we did on channel 1 does not affect channel 4. What we do on channel 4 does not affect channel 3. Probably one of the best features of this DSP is the limiter. But this feature is so complex that it's going to take an entire video by itself. But what's nice about this, you can set the upper limit. So once you reach the preset threshold, the DSP will not allow the signal to output any further past that, protecting your amplifiers and speakers. Really, really nice feature. Not an entry-level feature to use. You should leave it on auto if you're new to this DSP and let the DSP do its thing. Time delay. So we have to convert it to inches. I don't think it gives us the option. Let's check the other menu. It has to give us an option for inches. Well, that's no good. We have to, it's gonna suck converting all my measurements to millimeters. I have to check into that further. So time delay, limiter, crossovers, polarity, output EQ, input EQ, routing. So one thing I don't like, it takes a while to save the tunes.